why CSAT is becoming so difficult to qualify itself in last few years.
Why it is difficult, why many students are failing in the CSAT, what is happening because of ignorance, lack of assessment and ho jayega attitude.
How should a student approach to the math section?
If I am from the maths background, I might think that I have to solve this particular section entirely. Then I'll take it on my ego.
So how to focus better upon LR?
Generally, with respect to the reasoning or the logical reasoning section, this is equally going for each and every candidate, even if non-science background students.
Hello and welcome to this special edition by VisionIAS. UPSC Prelims examination 2025 is almost 2 months away. Now this exam has two papers, GS and CSAT. CSAT paper, although qualifying in nature, have become tough for students to even qualify in last 2-3 years. So how to approach this CSAT paper? We will discuss all this with our esteemed panelists Brijesh sir and Vishal sir. Welcome sir.
Thank you, Dr.
So Brijesh sir, as I mentioned, why CSAT is becoming so difficult to qualify itself in last few years?
Thank you, Kapil. It's important to have some discussion, some guidance over the CSAT paper at this critical point. Why it is difficult, why many students are failing in the CSAT, the reason is same. In last 2-3 years, what is happening because of ignorance, lack of assessment and ho jayega attitude. We call it overconfidence also. Because of these things, students are failing in CSAT. This is, as you said, qualifying in nature. It is qualifying in nature. Students need only 33%. Out of 200, they need 66 marks. And students, they do not treat it as a paper. So they think of it, we can read it at the last minute. And because of this, what is happening, they don't assess themselves and they don't know what are their weak areas and they don't know how to manage time in the examination. And also over the top, they know that cutoff is decided on GS paper. So they read a lot, they have to read a lot about GS. So they think of it, I have to get just 66 marks. So I can cover it in last 1 or 2 months. So this happened with so many students in last 2-3 years. And what is happening? Getting 66 marks is very difficult because they have changed the pattern. UPSC has changed the pattern. The paper was set so difficult in last 2, 3, 4 years. That is why getting 66 marks has become very difficult for them. So they need to think of it. They need to start early so that they can have that confidence and they can clear this.
So I would like to add one more thing over here, that generally the UPSC exam pattern is like that the CSAT exam is there in the afternoon, right? So already there is a kind of fatigue after the GS paper 1, where the student might have even maybe fumbled or may have scored something good. But eventually what actually happens that this 3 hours become very, very tiring task when they are like just waiting. Sometimes we get to know that yes, one question went wrong, two question went wrong, and this shakes our confidence with respect to CSAT. Many a time it happens that a student might have performed though good in the GS paper, but then eventually they fail to realize that the CSAT is also equally important paper that have to be qualified, that you have shared in the opening remarks, that though it is qualifying in nature, but that itself becomes very, very difficult when it comes to the qualifying nature. Another important thing that sir has also highlighted regarding this CSAT paper is generally this happens with the people with the science background. So what happens that may have appeared for certain competitive examination, maybe for boards or maybe any other examination they have appeared for, and for them it is something like we know maybe permutations, combination, number system, series, we have solved certain number of questions previously, but they fail to assess that though the level of question that UPSC is asking is of class 10th level, but actually the way questions are being framed, actually the way the pressure and the stress is building upon the students, that makes it difficult. So all these things eventually pile up on the students, and there are chances that if you do not practice it adequately, then there are high chances that you might not be able to qualify.
So we can say like ho jayega attitude might have worked 2-3 years back, but now you have to take it seriously.
Right.
You have to ensure you practice, and you have to ensure you do all part of the CSAT paper. So coming to the parts, sir. So we have maths, we have logical reasoning, and then we have reading comprehensions. So how should a student approach to the math section?
See what happens if a student see the previous year papers. The difficulty level in maths part, it has been increased, as well as in RC part and reasoning part also. If we see the maths part, what happens? They are asking more questions on number system. And also in previous 2-3 years, if we leave this 24 paper, they had asked many questions on permutation and combination. And it is a marker of the paper. The paper is difficult or not, we can see how many questions they have asked on permutation and combination. If more number of questions, the paper is difficult. Less number of questions or no question, paper is not that difficult. So that is the marker. So what we can do, we can see in previous years, number system has become very important topic in this maths part. So number system, there are so many sections. So students can read about it, can have some basic concepts over it, like divisibility rules, remainders, unit digit concept, and number of zeros. This way, so many subtopics are there in number system. Like LCM and HCF also, it is also part of number system only. And every year, in last 5 years, if I say, every year they are asking at least 15 to 20 questions, at least out of total 40 questions, 35 to 40 questions which are asked in maths part, they are asking 50% questions from this part only. So they can read about it, they can practice some questions which have been asked in previous years, and apart from that, they can also follow the topics like percentage, profit loss, discount, ratios, mixtures, time, speed and distance, time and work. These topics are also, and set theory also. From these topics, every year, over 5, 6, 7, 8 years, we can see every year they are asking questions. So student can brush up these concepts and after then practice some questions. If they don't have any practice set, basically what they can do, they can go for previous year questions. And for the students who have already prepared, what they can do, they can go for some mock test. Like this Abhyaas initiative is very good initiative. In that they can practice in the real time, because the main problem they face, the stress management after GS paper, the break, and after then CSAT paper. So they can feel that pressure in the real time. So they should go for it. And if a student has read, understood the concept, not all but few, then also it is okay. What they can do, they can just go after this previous year questions, 15, 16 till 24. That would be more than enough. And if they're not able to practice complete paper set, they can go for like 15, 20 questions a day. That would be more than.
I would like to add one more thing here regarding this maths. As sir has highlighted that it is one of the largest section that is asked in the CSAT. Roughly 35 to 40 questions are there. So what happens actually that sometimes students rely on certain specific section only, and this happens with the majority of the student. That sir will also agree with this, that if I am from the maths background, I might think that I have to solve this particular section entirely. Then I'll take it on my ego. If God forbid that maybe certain questions are not being solved by me, then in that particular case, what actually happens, that I take that particular thing on my ego, that I know permutation, combination, I know number system, I have practiced adequately, and this question is not getting solved now. So in those particular scenarios, what I will do, I'll end up losing my marks on certain other questions which could have been easily solved. So for that, for maths, student should not solely rely on any one section. This is one a straight no for the CSAT paper, that you should not over rely on any specific section. For maths, generally it happens. Why? Because roughly half of the paper is constituted of maths. If the maths paper becomes difficult, then if a student is over dependent on maths, then obviously it will be a disastrous situation. Then in the panic mode, he or she will move towards the LR or maybe RC section, and if the practice is not adequate, they will not be able to solve that number of questions in the time provided. So you have to not put your all the eggs in the same basket. You have to keep all of them distributed.
And this happened for maths specifically because lot of students are from engineering background and they think कि मैथ्स तो कर ही लेंगे और मैथ्स ही करना है और मैथ्स के भरोसे ही रहना है. They do that and they end up like giving a lot of time to maths and not adequately addressing all other parts. So this is very important, not to get stuck in one section and identify the easy questions in all sections, and that will help them sail through. Now Vishal, coming to LR part, right? So LR is something which most of the people either go for maths or they will go for RCs. So how to focus better upon LR?
See, I would say compared to maths, though maths becomes at a time difficult, because if you are not from the maths background, it will be comparatively difficult to solve the questions like maybe number system or maybe the permutation and combination wala aspect. But generally, with respect to the reasoning or the logical reasoning section, this is equally going for each and every candidate, even if non-science background students, because that is the logical reasoning. The name itself suggests that it is logical. So if you are in a position to apply certain kind of logic, then the questions will be very easy. For example, take the example of blood relations. Everyone is aware about like what kind of relations are there, maybe the series, maybe the question about the diaces. So these are the topics which are there in the logical reasoning, certain kind of arrangement, certain kind of maybe sitting arrangement, circular arrangement. All these things becomes easy if you are practicing adequately. And for these things, generally you do not need any kind of formula or any kind of pre-prepared information. All of these things are just based upon the practice. So if you have practiced that particular section adequately for at least for certain maybe questions which are frequently repeated over the years, like last 5 years ka paper, if you see, you will get to know the trend. So if I'll give you a data that roughly from 17 to 22, this is the number of variation in terms of the question that UPSC asked, roughly from 5 to 7 years. Matlab, this number of question was asked. Now, if maybe for a certain reason, if the math section is not working properly for you, so logical reasoning, and in logical reasoning, you will also observe that based upon one statement or one set of statement, you will be able to solve 3 to 4 questions. Generally, 3 to 4 questions are attached to that. So if you are devoting your 2 to 3 minutes in order to solve that particular question in the logical reasoning, eventually you will get 3 to 4 questions advantage. Students sometimes fail to realize this kind of benefit that this section can provide. So this is the one most important thing, that students should be going for logical reasoning section, because everyone will be able to relate. The next important thing regarding this logical reasoning section, that roughly 5 years question for identifying which are the areas which are last 5 years that were relevant and student were asked a lot of question by UPSC in these 5 years. Identify those particular section. Now roughly 50 days are remaining for the examination. So what maximum you can do? 3 to 4 prominent areas in this particular section. Identify based upon your whatever strength you can put as far as the logical reasoning is concerned. So apart from that, the previous year question should be the guide for the student at this juncture, because through previous year question, as we were already discussing, that roughly 15 to 20 questions might be the chance that UPSC might be asking this particular year also from the CSAT perspective. So students should highlight, because this section is very, very easy and it is good for all the kind of students. So that should be done. And apart from that, lastly, that a student should not take that much stress also because of the CSAT. Matlab, though it is very, very important, I should not say like should not take that much stress. But yes, at the end of the day, it is qualifying in nature. So it should not be like it should be overshadowing the entire other preparation. So identify your weakness first. Second thing is work upon your weakness through practice test. Eventually appear for different other avenues that you are getting, for example maybe Abhyaas or maybe any other type of mock test that you are appearing for, even the sectionals as well as the combined. But practice in the exact exam like situation. That is very, very important in order to assess what kind of strategy is going to be beneficial for you in the examination.
So for LR, we can say that it has good return on investment when it comes to time, and students should not neglect it and practice right? Brijesh sir, now let's talk about reading comprehensions. So this is also a section which some students find really difficult to tackle. So how to approach this section?
See, from RC part, every year 25, 27, 29 questions are asked. If students are good with comprehension, they can go for it. So many humanities student, if they are having very good reading skill, they are having very good comprehension skill, they can go after it, and they are going after it also. What is happening with this? If we see previous 2 3 years question, earlier one paragraph 3 4 questions, but after then what happened? One paragraph, one question, and that too with some directive words, which are like what can be the crux of the passage, what can be the assumption which was made by the author. So this way, 3 4 directive words are there. So we need to go after it. We need to see the previous year passages. We don't need to go after any other material for RCs. Just go after previous year papers. Take 3 to 5 years paper and try to see how they have framed passages, and try to see what questions they have asked, and try to get the answer of those questions. See what answer you are getting and what answer UPSC has given in its own answer key, and try to match that. If 80 90% match is there, you are good to go. You don't need to read anything, correct? Otherwise, we don't have much time left. This practice, you can go ahead with it. If you are getting like 50 60% correct, so you can try to understand why you are marking incorrect answers. So try to go after it, try to understand what they have thought. Because of that, the right answer is any other option. So that you can do. That would be more than enough. And if you have read newspaper the whole year, that also provides you inputs, insights, how to comprehend the passages. Correct.
Here one thing that I would like to add over here, that sometimes student believes that I know about this topic. Just for example, maybe the passage is about the global warming. Then you might be thinking that I have read about some UNEP report where it was mentioned. So you do not stick yourself to the passage that was asked. You try to put your information, your knowledge in that, and that's where the student gets stuck. Because actually what happens, when they are asking for crux or they are asking for assumption, that is strictly based upon the passage they are asking. They do not ask you to apply your mind on that particular thing, go for certain assumptions beyond the passage. What is there in the passage, just put your entire energy to that passage only. So I think that particular thing is very, very important for the student to understand.
So we need to stick to the information given in the passage.
Right.
So, sir, before we depart, you would like to share some concluding remarks regarding how a student should approach the CSAT examination.
So first thing, consider CSAT as a subject. Second thing, we need to understand what is the art of leaving questions in the CSAT paper, because we don't need to attempt all the questions. Only 66 marks we need. So we have to leave many questions, roughly 20, 25, 30 questions we need to leave. So we need to understand which questions we can leave, which questions we can attempt, so that our time management can be better. And also the stress conditions, because of the GS paper first, and after then break, and after then the CSAT paper. So for that, we have this Abhyaas initiative. That is like real time experience. So if you are going for this UPSC Prelims exam, before that, if you are getting a real time experience, like what happens in the examination hall, like you are taking 2 hours GS paper, after then break, then CSAT paper. So you can have a very good experience there, and can see what challenges you face before the real exam. Thank you.
So whatever sir has said, I am completely in the agreement with that. You need to first habituate yourself in the actual exam like scenario. So for that, the students have this particular Abhyaas paper where general studies you will be appearing for. After that, you will be having a 3 hours tiring break. So basically that break is designed in order to make you aware that in actual UPSC examination also, you will be getting this particular break in those summer conditions where you have to maintain your calm, where you have to deal with that kind of stress, where you will eventually get to know that one question went wrong, two question went wrong, like this situation will there. So at that point of time, this Abhyaas will be one of the best initiative that will help you to eventually habituate yourself to the actual exam like scenario. And other thing is, still the time is left, still the time has not passed, because 50 days, too much time is there in order to prepare for certain kind of weak areas. If you are finding that maybe the math section, any topic is weak, maybe in the logical reasoning section, or maybe in the RC section, you have time available. Identify your weakness, practice on those, and then perform in the subsequent Abhyaas initiatives, and ultimately you will come out with the flying colors in the actual UPSC examination. Thank you.
Thank you, panelists, for this detailed discussion about CSAT paper. So, aspirants, I hope now you have a very good idea how to approach the CSAT exam. And if you want to know more about the simulation test of CSAT in Abhyaas, do visit our website. Thank you.